When 11 Canadian artists who rarely painted trees, rocks, or rural landscapes came together, they called themselves Painters 11. Their art was contemporary, edgy, bold, colorful, and abstract. When they disbanded, they had one last wild party in a studio called The Pit, with lots of heavy drinking, etc. Acclaimed biographer Iris Nowell had a 20-year relationship with Harold Town, who was one of them, and friendships with the others. That and her passion for art compelled her to put together a gorgeous book called Painters 11, The Wild Ones of Canadian Art. It is my pleasure to welcome Iris Nowell to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
What a beautiful book this is. And it's not just pictures, it's anecdotes and biography, which you do so well.
Well, thank you. Well, you know, I wanted to, I'm the kind of person, I really wanted to get to the soul of these people. You know, art books are fairly academic in Maine, and I wanted people to understand, the reader to understand that the personality, the person who did this art is their life is their art. And I think the more that you know about a person, the more you can understand the art, I think. And so that's the focus that I did right from the very beginning of this book.
Well, they felt they were real when they were drawing, and somebody specifically did, and I think that's the one you knew so well. Harold Town, didn't he say, I feel I am real when I'm drawing?
You know, that's a common sentiment of artists. And another one is, in a way, a corollary of that, but perhaps the opposite, is that you paint to defy death.
Oh.
You know, you paint because you're afraid of death. And so that's another one. You live to paint, and then it's in a way contradictory.
I like that.
That's a drive too.
So when did you first encounter these painters?
Well, you know,
a few years ago, because no one's alive, right?
That's right.
Okay.
No, they're all. But you know, Toronto was such a boring, stultifying city, and at the post-war, and they had such a difficult time getting together. So I knew about them, about how tough it was to get exhibitions. The art establishment was run by the societies, and they were all representational art. And so these guys, all 11 of them, they couldn't get anywhere. And so I was hearing about what they were trying to do to get noticed. So they banded together in 1953, and they had their first exhibition at the Roberts Gallery. Jack Bush was the only artist among them who had a dealer. They had no dealers, they couldn't get their exhibit. They had to do something. They formed themselves together thinking they'd have a better way of becoming known if they exhibited as a group.
Right, and there were 9 men, 2 women, right?
That's right. So they all had their first exhibition in a traditional gallery, the Roberts Gallery, established in 1842, and the opening night, they had all of their work on the wall, and this is abstraction the people hadn't seen. And you see, this is another thing. They were 10 years behind, the sentiment behind the Auto Matisse, the New York School, Jackson Pollock and William de Kooning. That's right, and so they were really annoyed that they weren't getting it. So they had their opening night exhibition really established their place in Canadian art. They opened at the gallery, 6 o'clock, nobody came.
Whoops.
Yeah, and so Harold Town ran out on the street, this is on Yonge Street, and he yelled, "Come on in, free drinks." Well, people did start coming in, and then the invited guests came. Well, from there on, from that night on, parties and openings became the social scene of Toronto.
Really? And I'm talk about parties. The closing party. Hello, the first one you went to, there was a nude woman on a table with cold cuts on her belly, or what?
The lunch was served on her nude body.
Excellent.
It
Lunch
was good.
served. It's so artistic, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it was beautiful.
And 3 martini, it was in the days of 3 martini lunches. Half of them were blotto when they painted, I suspect.
Well, not half of them, but certainly a couple of them. Well, I suppose in a way, Jack Bush was the one who had, he was in advertising. I mean, those days makes Mad Men today look like pussycats, you know, really. Well, Jack he'd have his 3 martini lunches, and then he'd go back to the studio and he'd have a few more. And he had a wonderful young painter who was his studio assistant. Right. And sometimes he'd say, well, Jack would get a little blotto, and so he'd mix the paint, and then Alex Cameron was his name. He might just put on a few, you know, with a roller, put on a few. And one time I asked him, all the time, he was with Jack for about 7 years, I said, what do you think you learned most about from Jack Bush?
Right.
And he deadpanned, how to make the perfect martini.
Exactly, a proper martini. And that Tom Hodgson, is it Hodgson?
Hodgson.
Hodgson,
Yeah.
because it's a DG
Yeah,
in there.
yeah,
He loved to paint and draw from the nude, and sometimes in the nude. And apparently, if you were in his studio, often you just drop your dress and let him paint you because you could be a muse or something. Tell me about Haroldtown, the stages of Haroldtown, the man you knew.
Mm-hmm. Well,
compared to Picasso?
He has been compared to Picasso as a draftsman. He did beautiful, beautiful drawings. So there you see. And he was a master draftsman. He painted excitingly and vibrant. His work. He was a man with incredible energy and ideas. He was brilliant. He was a Renaissance man. He could do anything. He was a good writer. One thing he didn't do very well was dance.
Okay.
But he made a big show of it.
Made a big show, and he was an enigma, really. He had 3 suits, apparently, only 3 suits. I read that in Painter's 11.
Well, and he did say that he laughed because he was on the bestseller, on a 10 best dressed men list. And that's when he really laughed because he said, I've only got 3 suits. But he had a really good one, and it was a twill, a heavy, heavy twill. And he said that he was at actually Marjorie Harrison Jack Batten's wedding, and he said he fell down the stairs.
Lawyer and gardener.
Yeah. He fell down the stairs from after the, and he said if he hadn't, that suit was like a box. It saved his life.
So all the painters from Toronto, from the East, all the 11?
No, actually, most of them are, but they. Jock MacDonald was born in Scotland.
Right.
And
but lived in Canada.
Oh yes, yes.
But in Eastern Canada. Because are most painters 11
in
of the
East,
group?
yes, but
they're all
and
East.
Jock MacDonald came from Vancouver. He taught here with Fred Barley.
That's right. And the bag has some of his work.
Oh, beautiful,
They
beautiful
have a red
work.
bastion.
Yes, yes, that's right. They have, and he was doing automatics. He was doing those beautiful, spiritual. You close your eyes and you let the brush of the pencil go, and. He did wonderful, wonderful works. He was doing abstractions in 1934.
Wow, beautiful.
Prophetic. This is a painting that's on at the Granville Fine Art Gallery that's on display.
And that's up. These are up until beginning on Saturday.
That's
until
right.
March 12th at the Granville Fine Art. How great! And you'll be signing. Will you?
I'm doing a presentation.
Well, we hear group of 7, but painters 11, people say, well, who were they? And you go, William Ronald, Jock MacDonald, Haroldtown, Walter Yarwood. Tell me about Walter Yarwood. You knew him.
Oh, yes, he was terrific. He was as a sculptor, sculptors are tough, and he was the last guy standing at a party.
Really?
Yeah, a husky guy and an outdoorsman, and he was terrific.
So they really retaliated by creating, because the establishment thought, oh, I don't know, what is this?
Yeah, well, it was the same thing that happened to all of them. Picasso, Matisse, and de Kooning and Pollock, they all went through that resistance because it was unusual. It was scary work.
Sure.
And people didn't, well, Graham Coffey was the one who said it all when he said he went into abstraction because he says every damn tree in the country's been painted.
Pretty much in every rock and every scene in Georgian Bay.
Yeah,
so
sure.
How about something else?
Well, yeah. And so this work, abstraction is so vibrant and so alive. And this is now people are thinking, when you look at Group of 7, I mean, they're beautiful works, there's no question. But when the excitement of painters of abstract expressionism is something that when you look at these works, you just all of a sudden you fall
I know.
back.
I'm so happy you did this. It's about time.
Well, thank you.
I'm so happy you did this. And they're like 11 individual stories. And we didn't get to talk about the women, but we will next time when you hit town. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. That last party. Heavy drinking, weed, everything.
Well, not
boxing,
much weed, but a
little
boxing.
bit.
Oh yeah,
fighting,
and a fire. A bed caught fire.
A bed caught fire, and they're artists. You know, Painters 11 at the Granville Fine Art. Iris Nowell, Painters 11, the Wild Ones of Canadian Art.